Hello again in this installment of Spiritual Wisdom. Now, as always, we're in a different venue, and we're in this venue because my temple, as you know, was destroyed by the storm at Ashley. So, in the summer, the physical building's still there, so I'm going to fix it, and there'll be a lot more videos done in the temple. But this is just one of my cozy videos where I'm in my bedroom today. And welcome back to all of you who follow me here. I'm just so grateful that you continue to watch me, tune in, and I'm just so grateful to have this little community as well. And if any are watching and you're new here, please, my name's Nicholas. Hello, and my name's Nicholas, and here I talk about witchcraft, Wicca, paganism, self-love, manifestation, and all manner of spiritual, philosophical topics. So if you're interested in those types of things, please subscribe, join this amazing community. And if you like this content, please give me a thumbs up and hit like. And welcome. And today, you know what we're going to be talking about based on the title. What are demons? So we've been told a lot of things about demons. But what we've been told is not necessarily what demons are. It's not true. At first glance, if we watch TV programs, shows, we hear about demons, but it's never in a positive light. Now, we hear they want your soul, we hear they're evil, horrible beings, but that's not necessarily what they are. That's not necessarily, because what we've got to acknowledge when we go back in history, there are many pagan cultures done immoral and horrible things like human sacrifice, but also so did the Jews, the Christians, Muslims. Many of the Abrahamic faiths also done horrible things because they believed that their way was the only way, the true way, and everyone should follow their way. And if you're against as well, you'd be persecuted for that at the stake, essentially. But that's another topic for another day. So what demons are essentially, so this word demon is Latin, and it refers to, it was an umbrella term in Roman and Greek culture, which described beings that were like gods, but not as powerful as, let's say, in Greek culture you've got the Olympian gods, like Mount Olympus, the Olympian gods. So beings that were not as powerful as the Olympian gods. Beings like fairies, pixies. Even you could argue with beings like the ones with muses that inspired people. They might have come on. You could argue that they come under that umbrella too, because they were as powerful as gods and they helped people, but they were not necessarily as powerful. They were powerful, just not as powerful as the Olympian gods. You could make that argument as well. But essentially, this word demon is to be a positive word, but it was just an umbrella term that described a variety of different beings. What beings essentially, but were gods in their own right, but not as powerful as the Olympian gods and the Greek culture, because you have Olympus. But again, because a lot of people, you've got two sides of the coin in history. So you've got, and pagan is the umbrella term which describes a variety of different religions, faiths, cultures. We don't have any Christian, Judaic or Islamic roots. So if you think of the ancient Romans, the ancient Greeks, the Egyptians, these were pagan societies that worshipped many gods, many beings, and a lot of these gods had big, beautiful temples. Some of these gods were worshipped in the sense of a group. You'd have an occult, like a priest, a priestess. They would meet up in secret and worship that particular being and do rites and rituals in honour of that being as well. But a lot of them did not acknowledge Yahweh, did not acknowledge the Jewish God. So what Jewish authorities done, like the priesthood, they decided to take that word demon and make it into a horrible word, make it into something horrible. So, and throughout history, different cultures have done that. They've took look, just like if we think of the word witch, it was an old word, it, it was took and it was made out to be something horrible and evil. But as times went on, we as a society have took that word, revived it and made it into something positive. And throughout history, people have played word games, essentially. So this word demon was took and made out to be, referred to horrible evil beings that wanted your soul, essentially. That is what it referred to. But that's, and then people worshipped other gods, essentially. What the Jewish authorities done, but also Christian later on, Jews would have been the first, then Christianity done it later on, was these beings that you're worshipping, we're going to add them to our literature, our text, our religious text. We're going to add them to that because in our eyes these beings are adversaries of God. So we're going to take them as that, write them down as awful, terrible beings. So we're going to do that with them. One example, and I do want to research her more, and I will, she did come through for me, is Lilith. Now Lilith, essentially, to me, I don't look at her as a demon, I look at her as a goddess. She is a very powerful being, and I feel that she was once revered and worshipped by many women, but men as well, and saw in a positive light. But because, again, the Jewish faith, even some, I believe at this time in history there'd have been some Jewish followers that did worship Yahweh, but then they would also worship other gods. And some of them loved these other beings so much that they gave up in Yahweh and followed these other beings. So as an attempt to keep these people in line, that's why they got rid of them, demonized these beings and made the being horrible, and made those who worshipped that being out to be demons. And we can see this with the devil, we know the devil essentially in the Jewish text is essentially a fallen angel. And in a lot of old texts he didn't necessarily have horns, but a lot of Celts and other pagans worshipped horned deities, and these deities would be beings of hunting, fertility, of nature. But to demonize the people, or to make the people out to be bad but worship those beings, they give their character, the demon, they give them horns, to describe that. Give them horns to describe him being, to make those who worship that god, to make them out as if they're worshipping the devil, when in fact they're worshipping a god of nature, of the hunt, of fertility. Okay, and it's the same with a lot of demons. Like, a lot of these gods would have been adapted into Jewish and Christian literature and scripture, and then we're going to make out the people worship these beings are horrible, evil beings. They're doing horrible, demonic things, when that's not what they were doing. They had a beautiful personal relationship with a deity, what they took the time to research, they took the time to honour, and they created a personal relationship with that being, and that being helped them. And essentially what demons are is they're spiritual beings. Like angels, like fairies, they're spiritual beings in their own right. And they're not all good, they're not all bad, but neither are angels. There's a light side. Even Archangel Michael, who I work with, you can see that if you fall, even though I take mythology with a pinch of salt, and I encourage you, when you study mythology, to take it with a pinch of salt, you'll see that Archangel Michael done horrible things to other beings, slayed demons, done horrible things even to people in some cases, but he done it in God's name. Okay, Now, that doesn't, again, it's the same, you know, beings such as angels, gods, goddesses, demons, the universe is made up of light and dark energy, balance. You can't have light without darkness, and you can't, if there's darkness, you can't have darkness without the light. It's that balance. We too are beings of balance. Therefore, we've got a light side and a dark side. And what side you choose to act upon is within you as well. And having the dark side of us isn't all bad either. There's a lot of different sides to that. And demons are not all good or bad as well. And when you're studying demons, it's important to understand, but they take the things you're studying as with a pinch of salt, because unfortunately, if you were studying a Greek god, for example, the good thing is a lot of historians have found out, have told the stories to the best of their abilities, the way the actual Greeks told them. So, like if you were studying goddess Aphrodite or Hecate, those you get to learn about those gods, those beings from a sort of a Greek perspective. Whereas a lot of these demons, it's hard to find out where they originally came from, because a lot of them are primordial beings, very old beings. They predate Yahweh and they're gods in their own right, or they're spiritual beings in their own right. But it's hard because a lot of the information about them, it's hard to get to the original source because the original source was destroyed, and all you hear is information about that particular being from a Christian perspective or a Jewish perspective. It's the same with a lot of the Norse gods. We know very little, like modern people that are on the Norse path or work with Norse deities like Odin, Freya, things like this. These beings are wonderful, but we know very little about them because what we get told about them is again from a Christian perspective. So it's a bit hard. But again, like any goddess, god, demon, any spiritual being, essentially, it's so important to research them, research their mythology. And once you've done that, like adhere to a spirit, even a demon like Belial, for example. If you study demon mythology, Belial is one of the demons I can really think of. There's other beings that would come under the term like Belial, Beleth. I think it's the same type of thing. And I've researched him a little bit and heard a little bit about him. Have I ever worked with him? No. But one night it did really come through for me, you know, like I was sleeping, and as I sort of woke up, I just saw this person standing at the side of my bed with armour on. And that's how he sort of came across to me, Belial, like a soldier, like dressed in armour. But and I do feel drawn to Belial because he has came through for me, but I have not really and in future I will study him more, his mythology and things of that nature. But again, and my message in this video is, when it comes to demons, don't believe everything you hear about them, because another being, I wouldn't call her a demon essentially, but and how you treat Lilith is how she's going to treat you back essentially. That's, so if you're going to treat her as a demon and, be very nasty, cruel to her, and then she's going to meet you with that energy and kind. But all gods are like that, or spirits, demons, whatever energy you give them, they're going to give you that energy in kind. And deity work is not a beginner sport. Or even working with spirits is not a beginner thing. It's something later on in your practice you can do, because with any being, you want to get to know their history. You want to, once you know their history, a bit of their background, you want to light a candle for them, create an altar, a sacred space in honour of them, light that candle, meditate with them, create a personal relationship with them and talk to them as well. And because when it comes to, like, if I think of Goddess Hecate, who I've got a really strong relationship with, I know a little. She's a very mysterious goddess, Hecate, a very mysterious goddess, and there's a lot of there are some myths and legends about her, but not a lot. But there are some which are from a Greek perspective. But I've got to know those legends, those mythologies, which help you understand Goddess Hecate a little bit, how the people worshipped her, followed her, what her energy's about. And then I've lit a candle to Hecate, created an altar in honour of her. I sit at that altar, light her candle to say you're welcome here, Hecate. And I've created that personal relationship. Now, when it comes to demons, again, it's important. I would not encourage, if you read the Lesser Book of Solomon, it's a good book to read, but I would encourage not doing necessarily the rituals and that, when it comes to invoking and controlling demons, that type of attitude I would not agree with any spirit, be that angels, be that gods, goddesses, getting to know them on a personal level and asking for their help respectfully. I'm all in favour of that, and I think that's a great idea, because for those who do worship Yahweh or honour Yahweh, for those who worship Jesus, you study that mythology, what you were brought up with, what you're told, then you create a personal relationship with that being, that deity. But essentially, if you are brought up, if any of you watching, the Bible, or you've studied it, you'll know a lot of these beings like Lilith and Belial and things like that. But these Lilith did come through for me one day, because I was with someone I wasn't really sure with, but it was a friend, a good friend, but he was going to get a piercing, and I just walked into this shop with him, and I was thinking about Lilith, I was hearing about Lilith on, I never researched Lilith, but she was coming, I heard about her from online sources. I was thinking more about her. She sounds really interesting. I'd like to work with her. Then I went to this shop. I am with my friend at the time, and he was going to get a piercing in the shop. This shop had a lot of gods and goddess statues, and a lot of witch things, magical things, crystals. And in this shop there's just this beautiful statue of a woman with a snake wrapped around her body. Now, some people would have thought that was Eve, but I knew it was Lilith, and that was a sign she was reaching out. Now, I do want to work with Lilith, and that's something I haven't really pursued, but I will do that in future, because I think it's so important to understand that demons essentially they're not fluffy beings, essentially, nice and all warm and fluffy. They are powerful beings. They are spiritual beings. They are primordial beings, very old, very ancient, and in some cases they're just spiritual beings but want to help people. In some cases they're gods in their own right. It depends on that demon. It depends on that being. But demon does not always mean. So if you hear what this being, and my message would be in this video to finish it off, if you hear what this being's a demon or this being's a demon, you've got to remember, right, just because they're called a demon does not mean they're nasty, horrible or negative. They are beings, they are spirits, but are horrible, negative and nasty, what you should avoid and not work with. But in order to find out if they're nasty, horrible and you shouldn't work with them, you've got to create that personal relationship. And you do that with any relationship, with studying that person. So when it comes to gods and deities, you would study them, get to know as much as you can about them, and then you would, if you feel ready and comfortable, you'd create an altar, light a candle in honour of them, take that time, meditate with them, seek their guidance, and jot down what they're telling you as well. Now, as always, this is me sharing food for thought, knowledge, what I know about demons, and I hope this video inspires you. I hope it's cleared things about demons up, and if you get any questions about demons, any experiences, any thoughts, please comment down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you're new here, please subscribe, click the bell icon so you'll be notified each time I post a new video. Thank you so much for all of you who support me here. I'm grateful for all your support. Have a wonderful, magical day. May part meet again. Stay wise and stay kind to yourself, and from kindness within, be kind to all. Blessed be.